The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis, where we share stories of challenge, success, and inspiration along with practical tips and strategies to move you forward to your success. And now, here's your host, Sally A. Curtis.
Good evening, good morning, and welcome to our show. It's going to be a very touching and very inspiring show today. I have a very, very special guest with me today, Jessica Giles, who's going to be talking about becoming financially free forever. So very, very exciting show. So for those that are new to the show and haven't met me as yet, and I haven't met you as yet, I'm a marketing strategist specifically for coaches, consultants, and speakers. And I specialize in content repurposing and LinkedIn strategy. And it's my role to help you amplify your voice, your message, and your impact. But let me tell you about today's guest, Jessica. She's a certified money mastery coach who supports her clients across all areas of money, including money mindset, manifestation, the law of attraction, money management, and wealth creation. And it's her philosophy that it's both all about the money and simultaneously nothing to do with the money. But it is about the freedom and choice that money creates for you. But it's very much about the woman that you become as going through the process of healing your relationship with money. So as I said, a very inspiring and touching show for you today. And without any further ado, please welcome Jessica Giles, who is the warmest, most gracious person I know. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. What an amazing introduction. Thank you so much, Sally. I'm really excited to be here with you and your audience today. I relish any moment I get to spend with you and any conversation that we have. So thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I love it listening to all of your words of wisdom, and it's been a pleasure watching you grow and continue to grow and do as much speaking as you're doing, and just more importantly, watching the rooms hang off every word, and I can see all of the light bulbs going off in their faces and in their heads. So it's been an exceptional experience to watch. So I'm very, very excited for today and to share you again with the audience. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's a true honour to be here and to share this message and work with the world.
Absolutely. So can I ask you, and I know your backstory, but can I ask you to share your backstory? And I know you've got the warts and all version, so can I ask you to share your backstory with the audience, please?
Yes, of course. And I love to do this because I think it's so easy to look at somebody and think they've got it all together, or they're this or they're that. And I relish in telling people that I absolutely did not come out of the box this way. My background behind the background is that I was a 16-year-old high school dropout working in a petrol station and earning $6.84 an hour. And even when I was doing that, I wanted to play and contribute more to the world and live a bigger life. And I didn't quite know how to do that. I mean, I was a 16-year-old high school dropout. I didn't even have year 10 or middle school to my name. And I remember at that time, I intrinsically knew the value of putting yourself in a certain environment. And so I used to go along to the university open days. And I used to take my equally bad decision as leaving school, my teenage boyfriend, with me. And and I used to drag him along, and I'd sit in all the information sessions about the different degrees and courses on offer. And I had no business being there. I was certainly not ready to enter university, but I was just following the nudges. And anyhow, along the way, I went back to finish more education, and whilst I was there, I fell in love with accounting as a subject. And so here in Australia, I put myself through TAFE, which was a Certificate 3-4 diploma and advanced diploma of accounting. So that took about 2.5 years. I used that to then get into my university degree. And I started my university degree the week I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. So it was quite an intense time, to say the least. I submitted assignments the night before giving birth. I sat exams with screaming newborn outside and leaking breasts. Sorry if too much information. So it was quite the journey. And subsequent to that, I started my own bookkeeping and accounting practice. And I really identified that my clients were literally, these were pre-cloud days. So they were literally handing over their shoeboxes full of receipts and statements and a big mess. And not only could I feel them handing me the box, they were handing me their financial power. And it was like, I don't have a clue about this. You need to fix this for me. And so I would do that and prepare all the reports. And I'm all about the pretty. So they would go back to them in a pretty folder. And I just knew that they were never going to look at that information again. And I was like, no, like there's so much data in there that as a business owner, you need to be across. And I used to scratch my head. I'm giving you all of the tools and the tips and the templates and reports. Why aren't you using this? And at the same time, I became a single mum very suddenly overnight. And I refer to that as my spiritual awakening. And it was through that process, I learned about the power of the feminine aspect of money around mindset and manifestation, law of attraction, your money story, and all of those more soft pieces of money, I guess. And so it was a massive light bulb for me, not only around my own money story, but I was like, this is what is happening with my clients. They are telling themselves that I'm bad with money. I don't understand my numbers. You know, even as an accountant, I didn't start my business because I like looking at numbers, you know, so you start your business because you're amazing at what you do and you're passionate about it and you want to make a change in the world. And that doesn't always compute to sound financial literacy.
Yeah.
So armed with my new insights, my bookkeeping and accounting clients became my first coaching guinea pigs. And I was like, look, this is what I've learned. I think this might be going on here. Let's have a bit of a play. And thankfully, they were very open. And so that was how the coaching aspect of my business began. And I really saw those women come alive, and they were, once they understood the story, they were telling themselves and were able to heal and up-level their relationship with money. Everything in their physical finances, personally and professionally, represented that shift. And so I feel incredibly blessed now that this is my life. This is what I live for, is supporting people to understand and transform their relationship with money. So that's kind of the short story of the long story.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's so important because I know when we first met and you talked about the handing over your power, I remember doing that for years, and I did have the shoebox with all of the receipts in it. And now, like you, I love the inspiration and the information that data gives us. But prior to sort of the growth and the transitions that you go through, you don't understand what that does. You do hand over your power, you get it back, you don't know what to do with it, and you put it in the cupboard.
Yes.
Until next year, and then we do it all over again. And the other. Sorry, go for it.
Sorry, I was just going to say the accounting function actually sets businesses up for fail as well, because the very nature of accounting is looking in the rear vision mirror, looking at what's happened, looking at the past, and that isn't where your power is, because obviously we can't influence the past. And so I'm always saying to my clients, like, data, not drama. Like we get the data, we don't go into drama, and then we fix the data or we grow and enhance. So I really, really am very passionate about helping people to take control of it for themselves, because the accounting function isn't actually all that helpful in the bare basic nature of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other element that I love there is that we do, as you got the nudges, which was going to university and sort of being in there, we do get the nudges, but often then we have either handed over the power or don't know what our next step is. So that nudge goes unanswered, it goes noticed, but it goes unactioned, and then they sort of wait for the next nudge to come along. And sometimes, I'm speaking from experience here, sometimes you have to get a series of nudges, and often they become a brick or a Mack truck or a truck before you actually do anything. But being able to and sometimes we join those dots retrospectively. But I really love the way that you talk and you work with your clients about helping them identify and acknowledge those nudges, and with the data that you now help them with and the no drama, help them experience those nudges into an action of some form.
Yes, very much so. And I always say, you know, the universe will tap us on the shoulder to begin with. And if we ignore it, it'll tap a bit harder. And then if we still ignore it, we'll end up on our bottom on the ground, like with no choice but to listen. And one of my favorite pieces of the manifestation process is that there's always the angel messenger. You know, there's always that person or that place. Like the other day, I got in the car and randomly this podcast episode just started playing. I hadn't even opened the podcast app, and so I just sat there and went, okay, well, clearly this is the message I'm meant to receive in this moment.
Yeah. And all good things come to those when it's those inspired moments, and you just go with the flow. I love that. So how do you take and I'm just curious because this has just popped in my head. You've got somebody that's got their shoebox, or the attitude of the shoebox. They know they're getting their nudges. They've heard about the manifestation, and sometimes it works for them and sometimes it doesn't. So they've got that roller coaster ride. What do you notice about the transitions or the transformations that people have when they go from that roller coaster ride that's quite extreme to getting into that sort of slower one that comes down? What do you notice with your clients in that? Because I'm sort of thinking there's a challenge in there, and there's also an opportunity in there, and I know that you would see these regularly.
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest element I see is self-trust. And trust of the journey, and trust in the fact that you are supported and that you are actually meant to have what you want. You know, we're kind of sold and set up through conditioning and through the nature of the world that we're in, that there's, you know, hustle and sacrifice and overcoming, and to a degree that is normal. But I find when women are making that transition and healing their relationship with money, trust is the biggest element. Trust of themselves, trust that they don't have to be defined by their past, and then belief and worth that they can create the future that they desire, and that there is, you know, I often speak about all versions of realities exist. It's which one we're going to choose to bring to life that matters. And so that real belief and trust in self that actually I can do this, and I am going to do this. And I often joke with my clients that you just went to the wrong school. You know, now you're just going to the right school and learning how things actually get to be. And what my clients love about working with me is that I'm also, as much as I'm very woo-woo and spiritual, I'm also very practical and literally have a process that they can implement that walks them through that. But trust and belief in self is the biggest aspect, I believe, followed very, very closely by permission. Because yes, many people are, whether they like to admit it or not, and I'm not sitting on a pedestal here at all, I've been there myself, are somewhat addicted to the stress and to the struggle and to the story and the role that they get to play. And so for many people, it's a matter of giving yourself permission to outgrow that story, permission to out-earn a family member or break a ceiling, or permission to do life and business differently, you know, to share the experience of a client that I recently worked with in my Money Mastery Academy program. You know, she had this story and had been conditioned to believe through her family who were also business owners, but that it had to be really hard and stressful and super long hours and sacrifice, and then you only still just get enough to get by. And so that was what she had created for herself, because that was what she was shown. And we generally go into compliance or defiance with what we've been conditioned to through our life. And so I work with my clients to come into a state of alliance, which is we see what we've been shown, we see what is available, and then you come into alliance and choose and create your own path and experience with that. So if I had to sum that up, it would definitely be trust, belief, and permission are definitely key critical elements when it comes to creating that financial transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was jokingly going, yes, tap, tap, tap. Are you listening? Tap, 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 as you were going through that, because I think we've all done, as we evolve and we grow, regardless of whether it's money or business or whatever, we do get stuck on the repeating patterns, on the repeating cycles, because I know myself, I've had why am I learning this again? Clearly because I haven't actually learned it yet. So, we get stuck on that repeating cycle. And I've, working with the types of clients I've worked with over the years, that, we have a side hustle, and hustle usually means it's hard work. And we then get sucked into that it is hard work. So I'm doing really, really long hours, and everything else has to be in that drama, because that's what business is perceived to be. So it's interesting. And I really took away from that. It's that whole permission to step off that merry-go-round.
Yeah, very much so. And sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is kind of a never-ending journey. It's as you mentioned, it's new level, new devil. Every time you grow, every time you heal and expand, you're going to be called to heal that and strengthen that further. So, but it is very much a way of, for me, I see it as shifting from adrenal-based business, like adrenaline-based business management and growth and relationship with money and manic manifesting and pulling it all together at the last second, to actually letting yourself be in control and empowered and have things taken care of. It's a huge shift to make. And, I often say to my clients, you didn't get here in a day, so you don't have to get where you're going in a day. Like, it's taken days, weeks, months, decades of a certain behavior and habit and conditioning that has created what you're experiencing. So that kind of slow down, I'm in a hurry notion actually lets you to relax into the process of you're learning a new way of being, an entire different way of living your life, which is, the masses aren't doing this work. So fully celebrating those who do decide to create that change.
Very much so. And coming back to the alignment, no, it was alliance, wasn't it? Yes, alliance. I think that in that term is very, very powerful, because that's where, as you said, where the choice comes in. You've made a new choice, and now you're aligning it with everything that helps create all of those ripple effects in your own world, for it then to create the ripple effects in other people's worlds as well.
Absolutely. It's so, I just speak all the time as well about making it bigger than you. People tend to think that it's very selfish to want to change this, or, and when you come into that state of alliance, you really realize that this isn't actually about you. It's about your family. It's about who you get to impact. It's that beautiful ripple effect that it has in the world. My entire guiding philosophy is that financially empowered women will save the world, beginning with their own. And that's what I really see to be true. And that's where I say it's both all about the money, in that money is an incredibly powerful tool, but it's also far deeper than that. And it's that state of living your authentic truth, and the ease and the joy and the relaxation from that comes from being in that state of alliance. Because when you're in that state of alliance, you're actually living your truth, as opposed to living something that's been shown to you but isn't quite right, and so it feels like you're walking in someone else's shoes. And through that process, you get to just let all of that go and live your truth.
Yeah, beautiful. Can I ask you to repeat the women your quote. I'm not going to repeat it. I would love you to repeat it again, because I think that is so significantly powerful and really the key message that we have for today.
Yeah. Financially empowered women will save the world, beginning with their own.
Yeah,
and I know that to be true, because that's been my life, you know, going from being a high school dropout to university graduate to single mum, you know, to creating and building my business. I couldn't have done that if I wasn't financially empowered.
Yeah.
You know, we can't avoid the topic and area of money. And so for me, I'm so incredibly great. You know, God willing, as long as we're on this earth, money is going to be a part of your life, and it's going to be one of the key relationships that you have and deserves to be invested in as so. And, you know, when I think about the way in which I see things happening with my clients, you know, they get to choose when they are financially empowered, you know, simple things like what foods to nourish their body with, where their children are schooled, what relationship, if any, they're in. You know, I am so grateful that I had the opportunity and the privilege and the blessing to be able to be a single mum, to be able to support my children in that way, to be able to choose what relationship, if any, I wanted to be in. And that's what I want for every person on this planet, to have that freedom of choice. And that is what financial empowerment gives you. And so that's why for me, it's so much more than, oh, have 6 figures or this much in your bank account. It's like, no, get to be able to be free to live the life that is meant for you. That's my driving force.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Love it. So I'm going to ask you, and I know you've recently written a book, this one here, and you've actually called it a companion style book. So like anything that you do, it's purpose driven and it's a gift to the world. So can you explain why did you write this book in this style?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So I had been trying, and I'd been requested by my clients and community to write a book for probably 4 years. And don't get me wrong, I was trying to write this book, and it just wouldn't happen, and it just wouldn't come through. And I sat there in frustration one day, and I was like, oh, please just show me, please. It was a frustrated prayer of, please show me what book I'm meant to write. There was nothing inspired and loving about that connection. It was very much, I'm over this. Where am I going? And the guidance I got was, write the book you wish you had as that 16-year-old high school dropout. What do you wish you were told? What do you wish you were shown? And it was really quite an emotional moment, and I really realized that at that time, I wish somebody would take me by the hand, help me to identify and see how I got to be where I am, and then to create clarity and an action plan to get to where I want to go. And I'm obsessed with writing and journaling, and the last thing I wanted was another money book that was going to sit on the shelves and collect dust. And so I wanted to ensure that if I gave somebody a journaling prompt, they could journal on it. If I told them to track their income, they had space to track their income in there. So I really wanted to eliminate every objection or every resistance that people would face when it comes to creating financial transformation. So that was how I designed it. And as I've mentioned, I'm all about the pretty. So I invested extra to have the gold foil and the higher grade, thicker paper.
Thicker paper, yep.
And I love it when, I must admit, so many people tell me, Jess, you're on my bedside cupboard. And in that moment, I'm oftentimes like, oh, why did I put my face on it? Like I'm on people's bedside cupboards. But there's no greater honor than having that connection with somebody and really knowing that they absolutely have everything they need in that book. And I say in the start of the book, the introduction, you know, I want it to be well worn and dog-eared and tattered, and just really that companion guide that you can just go into each day. It's a 100-day guide. So you go in each day, you get a little lesson, and then you actually implement it, because money loves action and money loves attention, and that momentum and movement is what creates the transformation.
Yeah. And I was, I've been sitting here waiting. Is she going to say it? Is she going to say it? So one of my greatest loves of the phrases that you say, and I know it's all throughout the book, is money loves action. So, and that's helping people have that daily action. So can you expand on that a little bit more as to why money loves action and what that starts out looking at like when you first start with clients, or lack thereof action, and then becomes what their actions become on a daily basis. In other words, how do they get started with that action?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find oftentimes the action that people that come to me are engaging in is actively ignoring their finances. And that's the extent of the action that is being taken. Actively, how can I bury my head in the sand for another little while and hope that it goes away? And so I like to break it right down. You know, I love the philosophy that how do you eat an elephant? One mouthful at a time. So I start with just a simple action of tracking your income, you know, every day, tracking the amount of money that comes to you, because where focus goes, energy flows, and what gets measured gets improved. And so there's no greater way for somebody to actually get some results in advance, create some momentum and be like, oh my gosh, this works. And so that builds that belief, that builds that trust, that faith, that momentum, and you keep going from there. It's like if you get down on the floor to do one sit-up, you're probably going to do more while you're down there. But it's just that action of getting started. And money loves that, and money loves that action. And then when you take that action, it creates momentum, it creates motion, and it then begins to lift you and carry you and create an energy of its own. You know, I often speak about when a ship is leaving the harbour, it takes a lot of energy to generate, to get that ship up and moving. But when that ship is out there in the ocean, it's got the waves and it's creating its own momentum and motion to keep that inertia carrying it forward. So that's what I love about my clients when they, you know, I often get messages like, oh my God, I love looking at my bank account every day now, Jess, and I'm excited for Friday to track against my goals and see where I'm at. And so for me, that's just so phenomenal, because you're breaking down the story of what looking at your numbers means and represents, and creating a new experience of what that experience gets to be like through the attention that you're paying to that area.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I remember reading one of the, I'll call it a testimonial, one of the responses from one of your clients, where her husband said and commented on the change in her posture, which is obviously a confidence thing. So can you share some of the transformations and perhaps elaborate a little bit more on that story? Because I think that's such a significant, that really touches me, because someone has transformed wholly and significantly in that moment to have a different level of posture that people around her really are noticing it. So I'd love you to expand on that for us, please.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And this is what I mean. This is the theory in action, or my philosophy in action of it's both all about the money and at the same time has nothing to do with the money. And this beautiful client, you know, when we finished working together and I asked her what's the number one thing from the work we've done together, and I was waiting to hear, you know, I've got more money than ever in my bank account and I'm fully booked and I'm this and I'm this. And she did share that, but she's like, more than anything, Jess, she's like, for 20 years, I've tried everything with my posture. I've tried like the frames and the this and the that, and nothing worked. I've tried sitting on gym balls at my desk and all sorts of things. And she said, but through this work, my husband has noticed the difference in how I carry myself and my posture. And I was a little bit taken aback to start with. But then I was like, of course, because that's the inside out transformation. And it's so powerful to see a woman come to life, to feel empowered, to feel in control, to feel strong. And I love hearing of that, you know. And another testimonial I got just this week from a client, you know, who was almost bankrupt when she came to work with me, and now she's got 4 streams of income, 5 figures in savings, just built their custom dream home, retired her husband. But more that, so all of that is amazing, of course, and I love those results. But I truly love hearing when someone says, you know what, Jess, I wake up in the morning and I'm just not worrying. Like the other day, it's like I wake up in the morning and I'm usually like, oh, no, there's nothing. Like I don't actually have to worry about anything. So it's such a tremendous honor to be entrusted to have that front row seat in somebody's journey. And it just I just get tingles all over when I think of what it creates for women and people.
Yeah, and I would imagine too for the daughters.
Yes.
Yes. Daughters and sons, but predominantly we're talking women, and it's often women that have the stories. So do you have any, I suppose, stories to share as to what you've heard as it relates to their children? Because that's real ripple effects that are occurring. Yeah.
Very much so. And I find oftentimes when they come to work with me and I speak about your critical faculty being formed by the age of 8, so all of your important decisions about who you are and your body and money and relationships and health and all those things are formed by the age of 8. And that can be terrifying for people with children of going, oh my goodness, I've only got till the age of 8. But as they start to heal and transform, and the biggest issue I hear from women is, 1, how do I fix my husband? And 2, how do I make sure my children aren't screwed up through this process?
Yeah.
And to both, I say you heal the world by healing yourself.
Yeah.
And the greatest way that children learn is not through what you speak, through what you say. It's what they see. It's how they feel. And that is the greatest result. A client just the other week was telling me that, since doing this work, her daughter and her son, she's got both, are just so much more relaxed. And even when she was at the shops and offered to buy them something, they're like, you know what, Mum, no, this is something that's bigger and more important to me. I want to, hold off for that. And these were children that always were wanting something. So it's that modeling, and it's that feeling and emotion of them just feeling that everything's safe, everything's okay, and that they then start to create their own goals and purpose around money and ideas and little entrepreneurial efforts, which is just, and this is why I'm so passionate about this work. I have 2 daughters myself, and there's kind of those generational lines. And one of my favorite sayings is, when they say it runs in the family, I say it stops here. And it's like it's just creating that change and creating that different experience. And I think, I always say when I work with my clients, it's not that we're making anyone bad or wrong. The inherent belief is that everyone's doing the best they can with what they have available. And as you know better, you do better. And then that ripple impact flows on to future generations. And it's also can be a double-edged sword, because healing generational patterns can oftentimes feel anything but healing as well. But knowing that you are creating that ripple effect both in future generations and healing previous generations is a tremendous honor and gift that I take very, very seriously.
I appreciate that. I've just had one of my own little epiphanies with Rory when he was 3. He's delightful now, but at 3 he was hideous, and he did that I want Tanty on the floor, and I remember then I actually I gave him a wallet, and he would do things around the house, and he would have money in it. So when we went to the shops, he would contribute to whatever it was that he was getting. And we were out the other day with one of my girlfriends who's got a little person that was sort of almost having a similar sort of Tanty. And you know how everyone would go, sort of normally does that. Rory's just sort of got down on the floor with him. And Rory's 17 now, and he's a young man, and he's just, I don't know. I asked him afterwards what he said, but he just got down with this young little fella and just sort of said some inspirational words and just calmed him down in such a beautiful manner that you wouldn't have expected a 17-year-old to do. And it was suddenly all right, because they'd obviously had this boy bond. little fella was in the eye once. Rory had been there in had his own transformation around that. And he was just able to just calm him down and just sort of almost coach him through it. And it was all right and it was all forgotten. And for me, that was, you've just made me realise that was actually a moment from something that we had done when he was back at 3. So thank you. That was
and that is so special. And they say that you fully have learned and understand and embody something when you can teach it to somebody else. And so that shows the level of mastery that Rory has created in that area, and what a phenomenal gift for himself and for that young boy. And you created that, so well done, Mum.
Yeah, thank you. So no, that was lovely. And I think it's really important to celebrate, and I know you teach a lot of this, to celebrate those small wins and those recognizing it, which is why journaling and why you've got the guide to be able to pick those things up. Does that actually help form part of the Money Loves Action success train, I'll call it?
Oh, I like that. I like the success train. Yeah, totally. Because I'm forever saying that, small steps add up to quantum leaps. And we all just want the quantum leap, the big breakthrough, just give it all to me now. Yeah. And, when you look at lottery winners, within 5 years, over 90% of lottery winners have, they're in the existing or worse than financial position than what they started. So more money isn't actually the solution. And so what I personally believe is more tragic than not getting what you want is getting what you want and not being able to hold on to it.
Not being ready for it.
Exactly. And so one of my, actually my word of the year for this year is prepare. And my philosophy this year is prepare for what you're praying for. So when you're praying and desiring and wanting financial freedom, it starts with those small steps. And so one of the first things I have my clients do when we work together is set up automatic payments, be it to profit, to clear debt, to pay yourself, whatever it is, because I always say, and I know to be true, that if you focus on the habit, the amount will take care of itself. And so I often say, I don't care if it's $2, $5, $10, give yourself a $5 pay rise. I don't care. It's that action. It's that creating that habit, sending out that universal message. And I fully believe that if you focus on the inputs, the outputs take care of themselves, which is the same way of saying if you focus on the habit, the amount will take care of itself. So money loves to have a job to do. Money loves to have a channel and a reason to flow. And so when you set up those channels and you give money a job to do, put it in place and watch the magic happen.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Thank you. So with what do you find some of the stumbling blocks are for women when they're getting started? What just to help people self-identify what's getting in their own way?
Yes, absolutely. So I think this very much relates back to what I said earlier around self-belief, around I've seen other people do this, and like I said, I'm not sitting on a pedestal. I've been there. I went through a stage in my business where I believed that the neighbour's dog could do it, but I couldn't. Like, I had that much faith in everybody else's ability, and you see it happening and it's available, but it's that real belief that it's available for me and I can create this, because you can have all the greatest tools, techniques, templates, everything in the world, but if you lack that self-belief, then it's really going to make it's like driving with the handbrake on. So it's the combination of, and this is where I truly, truly believe and know to be true, that if you combine the physical elements of, money management with the mindset work, you can't go wrong. You literally create an unstoppable rising. You literally, it just can't not work. But you can't sit on a meditation mat and manifest $1 million. I'm working on it. You'll be the first to know if I crack the code. But you absolutely cannot outmanage a bad mindset either.
Yeah.
So it's the combination of the two, and it's letting it be imperfect and letting yourself start with where you are, and not needing the overnight success or overnight massive transformation, and knowing that that overnight massive transformation comes from those small steps.
Yeah.
That saying that it's amazing how many sleepless nights it takes to be an overnight success. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's that getting started, letting it be imperfect. I always say your willingness is enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. Your willingness is enough. Progress over perfection. And it's always awkward before it's elegant. But that's the only way you get to be a master, is by being messy to begin with.
Yeah. And there comes back to that permission. You're giving yourself permission to be messy.
Yeah. Definitely. When women join my program, one of the first things I have them give themselves permission is permission to play. Permission to play, permission to dwell in wonder. That's what children do. That's your very nature. It's the world that beats it out of us.
Yeah.
So I like to have my clients connect back into that permission to just, let me play with this. Let me massage that. Let me try this on for size. And I never try and fit anyone into my plan or my way, but I give you the foundation, I give you the basics, and then you go and customize it for what works for you, and you build that trust and faith and permission in yourself to be able to do that, which is, I want to not be needed, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that really that wonder, it's tapping, as you said, back into that curiosity and the ability to be curious and dive into the curiosity and just see where it actually takes you, which is part of that effortless flow, which is bringing the flow element back in as well. Now, you've actually just said another word that's just triggered that word's also in your book. And I don't think I've got to that section yet. But you talk about needy. Oh, no, not needy. That needy's my word, because I've got a dog that's very, very needy. Clingy. So let's use the word clingy. You talk about clingy as an element in your book. Can you just expand on that? Because I think that's an element. I know we've lots of women, and I've had conversations around about that clinginess. So explain that to us a little, if that.
Yes. Oh, I love this. I love this area. I often ask people to reflect on their relationship with money as if money were a person, because it is an incredibly important relationship in your life, just as another person. And I ask, who are you with money? If you were money, would you want to hang out with you? And the visual I always get is, we've all got that person in our life that we're just not enough for. It doesn't matter what you say, what you do, how you show up, they just want more. And so I often think of the visual I get is like someone running down the road with getting chased by somebody who's just like, no, come back. I need you. Like, I need more. I want you. And oftentimes, that's money running away from us because of, the pressure and all of the energy and the neediness that we put on money.
Yeah, so we're almost chasing it away.
100%. It's being magnetic. I speak about being the honey and not the bee. Like, you don't want to be the bee chasing the honey. You want to be the honey attracting the bee. And in the manifestation process, I really ban the word need, because if you are saying you need something, I need money for this, you're inherently focusing on the fact that you don't have it. Because if you had it, you wouldn't need it. And where focus goes, energy flows, and your language is so important. So when you say, I need something, you're inherently saying, I don't have it. And by energy, you're focusing on the fact that you don't have it, which is increasing the gap between you and the thing that you desire. So it's so critically important to realize and connect with, if I were money, I wouldn't want to be around me either, So just having that awareness is the first step to changing that.
Yeah, beautiful. So super insightful. I've loved all of the little tangents we've actually gone down on. So how can people get in contact with you? We'll have a ticker going across the screen shortly that'll share with people how they can actually get your book. And that's going across the screen now. So they'll be able to access your book, and you have it both in digital form and hard copy form. But what are some of the other ways people can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Facebook, social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Chic Money, Chic_money on Instagram, Chic Money on Facebook. I have the Femme Financial Freedom podcast. So I have a podcast. I have a free Facebook group, which is also called Femme Financial Freedom. So I know I'm throwing a lot of connection avenues out there. And the main way that I work with my clients is through my Money Mastery Academy program. So, of course, if you desire to resonate with what we've spoken about today and want to take it to the next level, I would be thrilled to support you in whatever capacity that looks like through, I provide a lot of free content on social media, my podcast, the book, the Facebook group, the program, whatever channel feels good for you. I just really want to pour money love into you.
Yeah, beautiful. And just for the sake of the podcast recording, Chic Money is CHICMONEY. Doesn't always translate in audio. So Chic Money is CHICMONEY. And as Jessica said, she does have her own podcast. So those that are looking for podcast guests and want somebody to come and talk as it relates to money and abundance and financial freedom forever, obviously a great opportunity to have Jessica on as a guest as well. So
I love your marketing genius, Sally.
Thank you. I've got your back, love. So thank you. One of the things I wanted to say too, when I was cyber stalking you that little bit further to do some research, you are an incredibly giving person. One of the elements that I noticed as it relates to the books was it was something like $300 or $350 worth of value included and added with the book purchase. So all I can say, as I said at the very beginning, Jessica is the warmest, most gracious person that I can ever imagine. And if you do want to connect with her and experience more of that, that is definitely the best way to do so. So thank you very much, Jessica. Any final little tips or words that you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh gosh, you would be kicking me off in 10 hours. I'd still be here talking.
I know, that's good.
I just more than anything want you to know that your past does not equal your future. Your past and your bank balance do not define you. They do not cap you, and they absolutely do not indicate what is available for you in the future. So it is your time to rise to riches, and I'm thrilled to support you to do so.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said that any better. So thank you once again for joining us. It's been an absolute privilege and honor to share the audience with you and you with the audience. So thank you very, very much. Just very, very quickly for next week's show, it's our monthly episode of Marketing Magic with Celeste and myself, and we're going to be talking about the insights and ways to tap into client emotions, which will help you humanize your marketing. So that's next week's episode. It's our monthly episode with Celeste and I talking on tapping into the insights of your customers' emotions to humanize the marketing. So thank you very, very much again, Jessica. Thank you very much, audience, for joining us. And of course, you'll be able to watch the replay and catch us on YouTube and on iHeartRadio. So thank you again. If I can ask everybody to give a universal and collective round of applause to Jessica, and a big thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. And we will look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you very much.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I trust you got some inspirational tips to move you forward. See you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern for more Success Secrets Exposed.